Good afternoon, everyone. This is Committee on Housing. Today is April 15th, 2024, our convening our 1 p.m. agenda. We have 4 items on our agenda today, starting with our governor's messages and then proceeding to our House concurrent resolutions. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube, and in the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at another time to be posted. We'll have a 1 minute per testifier time limit today. So first, I would actually like to say that today, unfortunately, Chair Chang is under the weather, so we will proceed with the business. So first up, we have Governor's Message 722, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Board of Directors of the Hawaii Public Housing Authority gubernatorial nominee George DeMello for a term to expire 6/30/2028. All right, we'll take public testimony. First up, we have Hawaii Public Housing Authority. Yep, go ahead.
Aloha. Hope you're well. So the Housing Authority stand in strong support, but I wanted to take this chance to publicly thank Director DeMello for his service to the Housing Authority. He's been invaluable. His expertise and the connection as a public housing resident himself, it's been invaluable for us as we fashion and bring to the board the policies that they have been working on and adopted. So thank you for consideration, and we stand in very strong support.
All right, thank you very much. We have the chair of the Hawaii Public Housing Authority Board of Directors in support. Not sure if he's on Zoom. Anyone else wishing to testify? All right, seeing none. Do we have the testifier on Zoom? Or the nominee on Zoom?
He's present on Zoom, Chair.
Good afternoon, Mr. DeMello. Did you want to give us some opening comments? Oh, you're on mute.
I'd like to thank everyone there for allowing me to have this time to represent. Can you hear me now?
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity that you've given me at this time to express my feelings on behalf of the 45,000 tenants that live in housing. We're breaking up. I can hardly hear you. Sorry. Are we coming across?
Yep, go ahead. We can hear you.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to just thank everyone. All right, thank you. Representing the tenants has been my one objective, to be there for them. And I'm glad that hopefully I can continue that service to them through you folks. Thank you again.
Mr. DeMello, what has been, do you feel your biggest accomplishments during your last term in advocating for the tenants that you have brought to the table?
Well, being on the board has helped me to understand many of the different workings of the HPHA. I was on several, in fact, 2 task forces to do the budgets, and the budget itself is crazy. There are over 50 projects online. When they do the budgeting, it has a total of 109 budgets that has to be considered into one budget. And I think me being able to go through and see line by line what the budget is made of, I can understand more that the housing has helped many of the tenants.
Do you feel that we've been sufficiently taking care of the units that we have available to our, those who are renting from HPHA? And, what progress do you feel like we've made over the past couple of years?
Well, under the directorship of Hakeem, we have been able to move forward, I would say. Especially like with the Kaleimomi project that came up. There's residences that are going to be built for tenants, and the whole thing that it's affordable and it's going to stay affordable for the life of the project.
Have you been satisfied with the timing of the projects that are coming up?
I wish it was yesterday, but I'm happy for what's happening now.
So does the board question why projects take so long, and do you understand where the projects are at any given time?
Yes, sir. We have a monthly report given by the director as to where all the projects are and what the holdups are.
And does the board tend to question where those projects are, or are you just kind of like, okay, that's where it is what it is?
No, they always do. And yeah, we do. Like I said, we hoped that it was yesterday, but we know that's impossible. And we have a written outline from the reports of the manager, Hakeem, to let us know where the projects are.
Yeah. Are you satisfied with this, with where School Street is going and how quickly that's moving?
Very, very. That one, KPT, they're all moving, and I'm so happy because if you sit in some of our meetings and you listen to tenants, and it's when, and now it's happening. So I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, but did you question though that when we were supposed to break ground last summer and we didn't?
Well, things happen, and it's unforeseeable, some of the occurrences that happen, but it has to be taken care of before any of the projects can get through.
So what was the remedy that the board, did to when they saw that this was falling behind?
The first time that a School Street project was on board, that project kind of fell through because of people that were helping out with the project couldn't get it off the ground, and they had many obstacles. And now that we have High Ridge Costa, I mean, it's unbelievable how fast they worked on it. I wish the same thing could have happened at Mayor Wright's.
Okay. Well, I think the board needs to be fully aware of timing of projects, right? Because I think, we can say, yes, we need more time. There's going to be every excuse in the book, but at a certain point, if things aren't getting off the ground, something else needs to be done, right? And I think that's the role of the board, to hold all these projects accountable for it, to make sure that it actually happens. And we can't just say, okay, yes, we wanted it done yesterday, and then say, yes, we wanted it done yesterday, and then the board takes no action though, right?
Correct. Well, I'm sure you can see by some of the board's actions that we have been on top of things, and some of the things gets hung up in HHFDC's decisions. So, and then now with the wildfires in Lahaina, I mean, projects are almost having to beg for whatever they have financially to.
Yeah, no. I think part of it, to be clear, it was the legislature who was irritated that School Street wasn't moving, that we started to add pressure. So you can't say it was the HPHA board that moved School Street.
Well, part of it is without our decisions, nothing can be made.
Okay, what we don't want is that timeliness in getting these projects off the ground, because there was a carve out in the rental housing revolving fund for School Street. Timeliness is very important because we could have used that money for other projects,
Right.
So if the board isn't moving in a timely manner and making sure that these projects get off the ground, we could have done other low-income housing tax credits in the meantime projects, right? So I think all I'm asking is, do you feel like you're holding, HPHA accountable for projects, and the board, do you as a board member feel like you have a grasp of what's going on? And do you feel like when there's something that's not happening, you are able to say what's going on and let's find a solution? Okay, well, I think we lost you there. We can't hear you anymore. Can you hear us? IT, what's going on?
He's present on Zoom, but no audio is coming out.
Can you hear us, Mr. DeMello? Okay, well, we can't hear you. Okay, well, I think it is what it is at this point. I think you got the gist of what I was trying to say. And, I think I only ask because I want you to be an accountable board member who will actually take action, because I think at the end of the day, we're in a crisis mode for housing. HPHA is going to play a very, very big role. And I would expect, I think, both HPHA and HHFDC board members take very active roles, because the legislature's trying their part, the governor's doing their part, the counties are trying their part. So I think HPHA needs to definitely play their part in the development of housing. And I think everyone needs to be proactive in this mission of trying to at least solve some of our housing affordability issues. So I thank you for your presence here. I know we can't hear what you're trying to say, and I know you probably have some thoughts, but I think it is what it is. So thank you for being here. All right, we will move on to our next item, which is the nominee for GM 723, submitting consideration for and confirmation to the Board of Directors of HPHA for Susan Coombs for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. All right, we'll take public testimony. First up, we have Hakeem, HPHA.
Thank you for the opportunity. We submitted a written testimony. I just want to make a couple comments. First, to thank Director Coons for her service to the community representing the Big Island. Her experience, as you know, it's invaluable to the board. She's very familiar with housing, and equally as important, she's familiar with the aspect of a public housing, because as you know, we don't just do development. We $160 million worth for public housing and Section 8. And she brings that experience, being that herself, she manages and oversees that. So we just wanted to thank her, and we stand in very strong support of this nominee. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. We have County of Hawai'i, Mayor Mitch Roth in support. I don't think he's online. And then we also have HPHA Chair Bob Hall in support. Anyone else wishing to testify? All right, seeing none, Susan, why don't you come on up? All right, Susan, you want to make some opening comments?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really an honor to serve on this board. I am excited to bring my years of experience and to be able to help with the development of affordable housing in the realm of what HPHA is tasked to do. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Great. Well, thanks for being here. I guess, so what has been your interaction with HPHA thus far?
So I've been on the board since 2019. So I've had a few years of experience and
Mhm.
learning, right? It was even with my years of experience, you know, the wealth of what HPHA covers is not just the management of housing choice vouchers, the subsidy program, but the development of housing. So I can see the complexity of what they do. So definitely my area of experience with being on the board has to do with how we help to oversee the programs, the housing choice voucher programs, and as well as the need for those affordable units. In my work with the County of Hawaii, I'm also responsible for homelessness and homeless programs coordination. And I see a huge role that HPHA plays even in that realm. Even if their development of housing is for low-income individuals, you know, this is a strategy to help minimize homelessness, right? Minimize, what do I want to say? Stabilize folks who are unstably housed and keeping them from falling into homelessness. So my involvement here is almost self-serving because the better that HPHA does especially in Hawaii Island community, is better for me, is better for my community. So I appreciate this opportunity to engage.
Great.
Yeah.
So how have you, I know you're primarily looking on the voucher side and, you know, you guys do your own vouchers and you're seeing how they're doing on their voucher side. I'm sure you're placing some of your tenant, you know, your folks that, you know, need the housing into the public housing. How have you been monitoring some of the development on the development side? Like I asked Mr. DeMello,
Yes.
you know, how has the board been tracking? What is the response? You know, I think there's been some trials and tribulations, but what is your take? I know you're an experienced developer, you know what it takes. So I guess I just love to get your opinion of where we're at.
I take this with a deep breath and a sigh, right? Because the work of this developing for housing is hard. There's so many moving pieces. So I think that our role as the board is to engage on a regular basis, right? To oversee these projects, the budget, which feeds into these projects, because sometimes it's a funding issue. Sometimes it's a whole realm of other planning issues. And I think that's where a lot of the holdup comes. But I think our role is with our knowledge. And, you know, I think that's the value of having these board members with such a wide range of experience. We all come to the table with something that can help HPHA move their projects along. It's our job to monitor these timelines. And ask the hard questions about why things aren't moving, why is it getting stuck? And then we've had to, over the last couple of years, make some really hard decisions about changing the developer. That's not an easy thing to do. We like to build relationships with our private development companies, you know, and whenever it becomes a legal aspect, that just adds more time to the project. But I think that's our role, is to stay engaged on a regular basis and monitor that budget and monitor these timelines and ask the hard questions. But Hakeem and his team are very good, and I think they're very responsive. Sometimes I think there's delays that are out of his control, but we have to do something. Right.
So what is your take on the Kalemomi proposals? I know one component, there is a Big Island component.
Yes.
You know, do you think that, you know, that should be priority, or where do you think that fits in? And, you know, do you think it can be sooner than later? I know at the end of the day, it's a funding issue. Are you happy with it? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yes. Of course, being the Hawaii Island representative, my focus is going to be on how HPHA and their projects is going to benefit my community. Working very closely with Hakeem and his team, High-Rich Costa and Hakeem already have come to the Big Island to do a presentation to our cabinet and the mayor. So I am very confident that they're very serious about the delivery of Lanakila House, the homes. You know, this is a project that is decades in the pipeline. And rightfully so, there's a lot of issues, mostly with hazardous material mitigation. I mean, that's a tough one. But I feel very confident in my communication with Hakeem, and so far, the timelines of what he says he's going to deliver has been coming to fruition. So I think funding is going to be a huge piece to make this move forward. But I've expressed to Hakeem, and I'll tell you, Lanakila housing for me is part of a larger strategy for me to address homelessness and our housing issue on the Big Island. So it has to happen.
Right.
I'm very excited to be at the table for that.
Yeah, and I think I would assume there'll be, you know, the mayor is very willing to speed up permitting and make it a
Yes.
priority on the county's
Yes.
end.
And I think that was the whole strategy, quite honestly, to bring Hakeem and High-Rich Costa to the table to meet with the cabinet, because, you know, public works and water and emergency management, planning, they were all at the table. And so I wanted to make sure that they knew this project was coming down the pipeline. So when we actually start to engage, there was familiarity.
Right.
You know, this is maybe about 250 units in East Hawaii. This is a huge piece of our strategy. So we're going to stay on top of that.
Great. I think, you know,
Yeah.
I think you've proven that you're doing some great things as housing director on the Big Island. I think this is
Thank you.
another part of the strategy. And I'm glad that you're on the, you know, just trying to do another term on each PHA board.
Thank you.
Yeah. Members, any other questions? All right. Seeing none. Thank you,
Okay.
Susan. All right, we're going to move on to the next item, HCR 84, which is urging the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation to amend their administrative rules to establish another pathway for housing projects seeking an exemption from state laws and rules. All right, so first up, we have Dean Minakami, HHFDC. We have Angela Melody Young in support. And we have Kristen McAndrews in opposition. All right. Anyone else wishing to testify? HCR 84. All right. Angela, you have 1 minute.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the committee. Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support. So the resolution 84. Within the administrative rules, it will create a means for a housing project to seek an exemption from rules that are developed under programs of HHFDC. And so the Hawaii administrative rules will create this extra pathway for housing projects that are seeking exemptions. And HHFDC's primary mission is to increase and preserve the supply of affordable housing across the state. So within the 201H process, projects go through city offices. For example, the Honolulu Fire Department, Honolulu Police Department, Board of Water Supply, and the Department of Environmental Services for review. And once DPP determines a project is eligible for review of 201H exemption, it goes through a series of hearings. So similar to SB 2066, which started out with the original draft proposing that certain projects meeting the criteria of 201H to be exclusively for sale or rent to occupants who own no other real property. If they do own more than one property, unfortunately, they are not eligible for this building. And then since then, the criteria was amended. So within these review processes, I think that this will really help to speed things up and to expedite review of
Okay, can you wrap up?
the processes for housing development.
Okay, thank you. All right, members, any questions on HCR 84? All right, seeing none, we'll go to HCR 131, urging the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation to develop a 10-year plan to satisfy Hawaii's housing demand. All right, first up, we have HHFDC with comments. And Angela, we have you signed up. Did you want to testify on this one?
Yes.
All right. 1 minute.
Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES and Strong Supports. So just my thoughts, I don't think HHFDC should be the one to satisfy Hawaii's housing demand with a 10-year plan. If you read my proposal, I put PDF links in it so that, you know, the offices don't have to do too much work. They can just click the link. And it'll save them time to go review my proposal. I think Office of Sustainable Development should be the one to carry out this 10-year plan, and then also to include the counties in the plan, because zoning and permitting starts with the county's plans, not the other way around. Although the state does set the overall strategic goals, right? You really have to go to hear the zoning and permitting hearings to see what they are planning to do. So I think there should be, instead of something like a burdensome task force, it should just be sharing tools, planning strategies within state and city offices, and then research racial disparities to equitable home ownership. Why are they marginalized and vulnerable demographics?
Thanks, Angela.
And then assess economic condition of the citizens of Hawaii.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to testify? Oh, seeing none, we will actually go into decision making since we have quorum and we're gonna lose it.
Yep.
The voting sheets.
3 minutes.
All right, we're gonna do a de facto vice chair.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so we're going to head into decision making on GM 722, Mr. George DeMello for a term to expire 6/30/2028. Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent. And GM 722, Mr. George DeMello, advise and consent. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye. Chair Chang is excused. Senator Aquino.
Aye.
I vote aye. Senator Awa.
Aye.
Chair, you have 4 ayes. Recommendations adopted.
All right, thank you. Moving on to GM 723 for consideration for Susan Coons, HPHA Board of Directors for a term to expire 6/30/2027. Recommendation of chairs to pass for advise and consent. Okay, Vice Chair votes aye.
Okay, it's GM 723. Recommendations to advise and consent. Chair votes aye. Chair Chang is excused. Senator Aquino.
Aye.
I vote aye. Senator Wah.
Aye.
4 ayes. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HCR 84 HD1. Recommendation is to pass as is. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none. HCR 84 HD1 as is. Vice Chair votes aye.
HCR 84, recommendation is to pass unamended. Of the 4 members present, are there any reservations or no votes? Recommendations adopted.
All right, last measure, HCR 131, urging the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation to develop a 10-year plan to satisfy Hawaii's housing demand. Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended. Again, this is HCR 131. Vice Chair votes aye. Or any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair votes aye.
HCR 131, pass unamended. Of the 4 members present, any with reservations or no votes? Recommendations adopted.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. With no further business, we are adjourned.